is Narmada and who is this tigress and butterfly, right? Is, they are the same person or they are the two different persons?
Well, I'm unfortunately not wearing a sleeveless, so I'm not able to show that. My logo, what you see as tigers and butterfly, is also a tattoo that I put upon.
Okay.
Narmada is a part of Tigress and Butterfly, and Tigress and
Okay.
Butterfly is the bigger picture. It is all of us everywhere. So I strongly believe that we are, when I say we, it's all of us, we are very powerful inside. There is a kind of strength that we all have within. And it's very important to find the inner strength. And that's the tigress part. So if you're passionate about something, if you want to go be a go-getter, if you want to decide that your family is important, if you want to decide that your career is important, if you want to face the judgmental society and then go be yourself, to be calmer, to be a rebel, you need to be a tigress. And that is the tigress. Butterfly is a very graceful version. So butterfly makes everyone feel warm. So it puts a smile. Imagine there's a small little butterfly sitting on your black t-shirt. It will certainly take your attention and you will feel that little good. So we can also be a feel good factor for people. That's certainly the butterfly. And there's a very interesting part about the butterfly. You cannot have a pet butterfly. So butterflies come around, give you happiness, and they fly away. And I think it's important that we let go people. We let go. We don't suffocate with people with love. We don't suffocate things with love. So that letting go is also part of butterfly. So that's tigress and butterfly. And I'm just to dot one person on it. Somebody who is also waiting to bring everyone's tigress and butterfly with it.
Talking about your and who is this Narmada?
All right. Narmada is a little girl. Okay. Narmada is always. If you see, there is rain around, and yes, the mother mod of Narmada will say, "Children, come inside. Don't go into the rain." The wife or the house queen of the home will say, "Oh, I need to take my clothes inside and all that." But Narmada within will be the first one to go and dance in the rain, and she doesn't bother who is watching, what will they comment, because she's just a little girl. She's not a lady who is like, oh, who's seeing? Will it be appropriate? Can he dance here? I don't care. I'm just that little girl within. And yeah, well, we need to keep growing, and that's how, I am Narmada, what you see.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, Narmada, well, you are an author and a blogger, and you have written, I guess, at least 2 to 3 books. So, and I've seen all these books are related to ladies and supporting women in some way or the other. And so, would you like to share something about your books that from the first book? I guess the first book was Lady, right? So,
Get
would you like
ready.
to tell us about? Yes, please tell us about that.
So, before I start talking about the books, I'm not a feminist. I'm not somebody who is like, this girl power, women power. I also have a daughter and a son. So I'm not going to say that one gender is the best, all this, big thing. Not at all. We're all equal. We're very different. Everybody are different, and both genders have our strengths. It's about respecting our differences. It's about understanding and giving space. So I sincerely follow that within me. So equalism is what I follow. And being a woman, I can relate to a lot of things. And our beautiful society has, given a lot of ifs and buts for women. And to help them sail better and to help them discover the tigress and butterfly, I've written the books. My first book is, yes, it's for women getting back to work after their break. So usually the break is after marriage or after a childbirth. And then we become this different species called mothers. We think that, oh my God, now I'm a mother. I can't leave this tiny little baby. I'm okay to give away everything and my life with my baby. And suddenly you find out and you say that, why did I run behind getting 100 out of 100 in school? Why I wanted to do my PhD? And then that dilemma keeps I'm not talking about a third person here. I myself fall into that category. After both my children, when I had to get back to work, it was not easy. So I was like, I'm going to put my papers. I'm not going to go back to work. I can't leave my children, and I want to just sit and then take care of them, give them food, potty training. This is enough for me. Then I realized that you need to discover about getting back, and there is a process for everything. If you strategize, if you are ready to follow it one step at a time, we can do it. So and I'm very glad that I took enough breaks during my maternity or my childbirth time. So for each of my children, until they were big enough to go to daycare, I prioritized them, and then I know that life will wait, and then I can go back. So I took a small promise to myself during my second time that if I sail through this dilemma, if I'm able to come out of this myself, then I'll write a book about it. So my book, the first one is Get Ready Lady. It has 3 different segments. One is planning before you join back work, because you can't just decide and then next week. And the break is important. You need to feel that you're ready. So the planning stage, the actual joining work stage, and then the post. After joining, you go through a lot of, do we call it mood swings? Mood swings is an underrated statement for that. So these 3 are the chapters of the book. And after writing my first book, I decided, a lot of people were telling that, hey, everything is good, but the marriage matters. You need your partner to understand. And this phase creates a lot of things. So somehow my interest was inclined towards marriage after my first book. But I'm not a big saint, or I'm not experienced 100 years of marriage yet. Yeah, we still fight, and we still undergo to find our chemistry, and we still say that, hey, you should have given me a rose, you should have made chicken today. So I decided, okay, let me not write about a personal experience, let me do some research. And I took 1 year, and it's also in my book that I've connected with 400 couple, close to 400.
When I say this research work you did, huh? Good.
Yes, it's a 1 year research, and I wanted different dimensions. So I heard from, and very interestingly, when I asked newlywed what is marriage, define what is important, they'll be like, he is my life, she is my everything. Yeah, there. And when you ask somebody who is 70, 75 years, and then ask them what is marriage, this lady knows she has sugar and she doesn't eat tablets. To give her one, I'm still alive, and that is marriage. And it's so interesting to hear everyone's dimension. Some of them who had a breakup and then they had to marry an arranged marriage. Some of single parent who dealt with divorce, or somebody who lost their partner. So 400 couple Indians, different states of India, someone who was also from abroad. So everybody I heard, and then finally came up with 20 chapters. So 20 real stories. So what you see in the second book are 20 real stories and a little bit about them. So I thoroughly enjoyed. Personally, it helped me and my marriage get better. And that's what I think. It's Get Ready, My Love. The book is not to tell how to have a perfect marriage. The book is to tell that enjoy the imperfection together.
Very beautiful, very nice. And that third one is also there, right?
The third one is I co-authored with First Moms Club when they did the e-book on motherhood and about parenting. So it was resonating, about a mother going back to work, marriage, and it is The Mother's Promise. That's the name of the book. My actual third book, I've just started, and by end of the show, I'll be announcing the title of my third book.
RJ also and a stand-up comedian, what a combo, means like out of the box. So would you like to tell us that how this RJ thing and this stand-up comedian, so how it all means how you decided to be?
Okay, so it's a very interesting jump from the serious mode, the author blogger mode and all that. And suddenly talking about stand-up comedy and being an RJ is it's somehow connected to my first book, because after my son was born, okay, until then I had a lot of interest, just like everyone in childhood. What do you want? You want to be a scientist. You want to be this. You want to be. Everybody want to be that. And then after my son was born, we were in Chennai, and I thought that, okay, now what am I just going to be this? One side I want to quit and just take care. The other side I want to explore this crazy dilemma, all in keys every time. And that's when I saw the ad from FM Rainbow, which is the government, All India Radios, which is Chennai's part. They called for audition. And me being somebody who loves event management and all that, I thought, why not? Let me try it out. And we went through different rounds of interview. And then finally, I got selected as one of the radio jockeys. The final top 10 were actually recruited. So I can say that I'm a government Vani certified radio jockey. And
Exactly.
to balance this, every Saturdays for 2 years, I used to get up. It'll be a 4-hour show. So if it is morning, then good morning, Chennai. How is your day today? It's good to talk to you. You're fantastic. And then when it is 11 o'clock show, we go on. Hey, Chennai, good morning. So how are you doing? So it gives that thrill, and I love discovering that part of myself. But as I'm suffering from marriage and my husband got a transfer, we had to relocate from Chennai. And I totally want this to be my priority. I had to give up on being an RJ because it was my mother tongue, Tamil, in which I did the shows. And when I came back here, I was waiting. How do I get back to this? And very interestingly, that is the time when the season or the trend of stand-up comedy started coming in. And Bangalore is the hub of such clubs. Yeah, you want to try out something, there's always an open mic and all that. So in a couple of theaters, I was writing a script about, the Indian girl and the life of an Indian girl. That's the topic. So if you see, an Indian girl is supposed to be like this. You're 9 years old, then you're supposed to be like that, sit like that, stand up like that, run around. And so all that, I thought, why we should be a rebel about certain things? You can also joke about it and still bring friends. So that was the attempt at stand-up comedy. I have 2 major scripts of stand-up comedy. One is about the Indian girl, and the second one is about awesome parenting. It's not AWE, it is ARGH. Awesome parenting. I'm sure you can relate with that.
Exactly.
So that's how I feel that stand-up comedy is the way by which I've not given up on my RJing, and I get inspired by a lot of RJs and stand-up comedies. People go try a lot of Amazon and Netflix, series that come in. They inspire us, and the best thing is you get inspired, then you sit and find something within, and you write the script. It's quite a thrilling experience.
Recently, I've seen that you have become a fashion influencer too. Now, another thing, like after author, RJ, talking about the stand-up comedian, now I'm talking about you being as a fashion influencer. And first of all, congratulations on completing 100 looks of saris.
First, thank you for congratulating. And I always thought, okay, I'm getting older and no more becoming a fashion anything. Forget becoming influencer, no more becoming fashion, even on writing a single line. So you're getting old, you're big, you're getting your mother of 2 children. Thanks to all the judgmental arrows that people strike on us. But let me first tell what is a sari. Sari is this beautiful piece of clothing that I'm wearing. You have a blouse, and then you have this beautiful, a layer. And most of us, it's the traditional attire of Indian women. And for most of us, it's very culturally special because we see our mothers wearing sari, our grandmothers wearing sari, and they don't deck up like this. It's just their daily, wear. They put it, and then we've seen them walking in the kitchen in a sari, and that's how it is more of there in the culture. Even when you look at farming, and when you look at different kinds of profession. My mother is a teacher, and every day I used to see how my mom dresses up, and she had this little habit of putting a matching clip. So her hair clip was matching to her sari. So all she does is she has this beautiful collection of hair clips. So she says, okay, today is purple. Where's my purple clip? And I was always fascinated. So there are different materials of sari, and I'll come to why sari is a best friend for us. But how did this journey start? My blogging, I wanted to try something different in blogging. Photo series is something I started. So send me any photo and I'll write a story about it. Is one series I started. 7 tips is another series. So ask me for anything and I'll give you 7 tips on the topic. So suddenly I thought 7 years back, I think around 2013 or 14, I tried a blog on. So this is the story behind the scenes, which is some of our mental traps or scars that we always have, right, Mahir? So it's like that, where 7 years back I started writing a fashion blog about sari, and immediately a lot of friends mocked me. They said, hey, come on, you're not that pretty girl who can, go and do this modeling. And then they said, what are you trying to do, madam, after getting a child? What nonsense is this that you're starting? And I'm still thinking, I'm talking about a cultural outfit. And I don't know, even if it is, other outfits, what is wrong? And immediately I deleted the blog. Pursue it. And somewhere or other inside the deep inside, it was haunting me, saying that, why did I do it? Why did I give up on it and all that? And a very beautiful thing happened in lockdown, that all my saris in the wardrobe. I have close to 200 plus saris. So I do this little, when I say 200 plus, it's my work saris, and I started wearing only sari to work mostly. So all after lockdown, my wardrobe was crying. They were like, Narmada, do something. You're dying here. And you said you love saris. And I am in this horrible pajamas every day, hating, my workwear to be pajamas. And then I decided, let me start some series. And when I started my Sarigama series, it is not only about saris, it is not only about fashion. My confidence has improved. I was able to come out of a lot of mental traps. My scars became a tattoo. And that's how I started my first Sarigama. And what is Sarigama? I owe the name credit to Nishevita, who is my friend. So she said, hey, I'm planning to start a series on saris, and I'd like to name it something different. And she's a Carnatic singer who's about Sarigama. And then she said, you should put a Sarigama. And before clicking on publishers, like, should I? And then there's this little best inspiring friend of mine, Priya. So she's an artist, and she had done all the doodles on my book. So Priya said, go for it. I will get inspired even if nobody. And then she's my first, you got a first, like, from the heart. So thanks to Priya, Nishevita, and a lot of others, who pushed me to publish the first one. And it's always, you start your first gear, then you're on your 5th gear, your highways, and your travel is cool. Sarigama is about different looks in the sari. So today, this is probably Insta Live, and we wanted to have a very pleasant conversation this way. If the same sari has to be worn for a temple, I might probably be putting a little gold accessories, and my hair will be tied very nicely. And if I have to do, I can also do a bun. And if I have to wear the sari to work, then certainly, not a multicolor blouse. I'll be putting more of a plain dark blouse. And then there will be pleats and a very professional, something that puts my ID card. I won't be wearing a neck chain because there's an ID card. The interesting part here is the same sari and the same you, but a little tweaking here and there, you can carry different versions of you everywhere. And that's Sarigama all about. And I love getting all my saris out of my wardrobe during lockdown period for this series. But sari is so unbiased. Sari doesn't discriminate your body shape, and it suits your body shape.
Exactly.
All you need to do is which pattern suits you. So, and today we are in a world where there are a lot of original patterns, original materials, and there are also newly invented, mixed. There are two different. Silk cotton is another example. some mixed material. So it's always good to find which material suits. You were talking about the nylon, which is very soft, but nylon doesn't stay. You know, it's so slippery. So sometimes it doesn't stay on your body, and you need to put extra pins to make sure that your nylon saree is sticking on and it's not, saying breaking up with you in middle of a meeting. So jute is now we have more of jute sarees coming in, especially for work wears, and they are pretty good. And so there is plain jute sarees, and there are pastel colors mostly, which are very, very professional, and it doesn't show you odd. And there are places where you want to be that special, attractive, odd-looking one, and there are places where you need to gel with the group. You don't want that extra look. So jute is a sari where you get that very good professional, and it suits the overall look. So that's the material, and something about how do you find. All you need to do is you need to start draping saris, and only then you know which sari is good. So I have a lot of friends who are very afraid to take that first step of draping sari. They say that, oh, I haven't tried and I think this will not be nice. I'm like, go on, try. Only when you try, you will know. And there are 100 different materials of saris. So at least, one of these saris will, fit you in. And so that when I reached 100 looks of Saregama, and then, there was a very interesting thing happened. A lot of brand influencing started, and when you're an influencer, you become more responsible. I think being an author, being a blogger, all of this makes you more responsible because you have audience, and people listen to you, read, and they trust you. So I started being very careful about the brands I endorse, about telling what products I use, I don't use, etc. Mudra Ethnic, I think that's my latest, and I'm in awe with the material and the cost. And so I started with one sari, and I ended up buying 2, 3, 4 saris, and I was like, Narmada, control. I know you like Mudra Ethnic, but it's control. And it was a great experience working with them, or buying saris from them, endorsing them, saying thank you, and they were very sweet. Immediately they would be putting, look, tigers and butterflies on Mudra Ethnic. I'm part of Tata family at work, so Taneera sarees are something that are also close to my heart. Anything for a grand wedding or a grand thing, I would definitely go for Taneera sarees. So that's about sarees. And
where would you like to see yourself? Where Narmada would like to see herself, or the tigress and butterfly?
All right. Magical mirror. When I look at a magical mirror, I think I would like to see all the faces who love my writing, or who laughed at my stand-up comedies, or who encouraged my blogs. That's how I mean, the whole purpose is to inspire people, give them a little motivation, give them this confidence, and push them out of their doubt, and then give them that zone. So that magical mirror will be full of faces, people, including the audience of your interview today, who are liking the conversation. So that magical mirror of Narmada should not show my face. And of course, we all have this, I'd love to be a good mother. Nobody comes and says, I want to, be a bad one. So that default option is all there. Being good at job, being dedicated, all that is there. But beyond that, when I look at the magical mirror, I don't want to see Narmada's face. I want to see everyone who have discovered their tigress and butterfly there.
So beautiful, so beautiful. So talking about so many things you have been doing till now, and you are a mother of 2, right? And you are a working professional also. So you must be opening your laptop in the morning and working till late, and on the weekends you must be having some plans to cover up all these things, your passion and all. So how you balance, how you maintain your work-life balance, how you do these things all together?
Okay, so this is definitely a question that has been asked to me multiple times, and the first thing is, it's not work-life balance, it's a triangle: work, family, and self. Yeah, because
Exactly.
I think it's not only for women, even for men. Either you run around doing the PowerPoint presentation for your customer, or you run around to the grocery shop buying a milk packet that your wife wanted to. So you run between your family, which is your life, or you run behind work. You forget the personal side. So for time management, I think one thing I would like to say is um, spend a little time for yourself, something that you like. And when I say yourself, it doesn't have to be on Instagram. It doesn't have to be for social media. It doesn't matter if people are liking it and all. It can be that coffee time, sitting in the balcony, sipping it, just enjoying that moment. It doesn't have to include your family or your work or a social media presence. Live few minutes just for yourself, and I mean bond with self love is what they call that is the meditation, that is the battery recharge timing. And then time management, like I said, I like to do everything strategically. So Sunday is for Indian creative mothers. I'm going to be here. Then nothing else can priority. So 4 o'clock, somebody comes home. I'm like, no, I'm busy with an Insta live. You go, and I'm not guilty about it. At the same time, if I promised my son that I'm going to sit and do something with him, a craft work, or I promised my daughter that we'll do some dance wala hangama there, and I'm getting a friend who wants to talk to me or a busy office call, I'm going to skip it because I've prioritized these things. So be strategic and be clear on your priorities. If you want to prioritize one thing and you keep jumping between other things with this phone in your hand, everybody will want you immediately. But it's you who should decide where you want to give your time. And writing is something that I finish a day with writing. So every night, everybody goes to sleep. Then all the work is done. Everyone is silent. Then my mind starts making some, sound. It says, okay, let's write about this today. And that's so good for me because that's the time I again spend with myself. So
you do writing on the page. You're paper pen writer or you write on computer? What's your classic way of doing?
Anything. If wherever I find something, even on my phone notes will be full of content. So it's about immediately penning it down. It's about because the choice of words that I get, I believe that I can't wait. Okay, 2 days later I will write about it, and then it might be a past tense thought process. But today, when I want to write about something, it's a present tense, and I immediately write it down. So if there is no laptop or if there is no phone, or I immediately take a paper and pen, or vice versa.
Okay, great. So, as you said that you have your mobile and you do whatever you want to write. So, talking about mobile, social media, I want to focus on social media right now, because as you see that everybody's on social media, and these ladies who wants to do something or they want to showcase their work, but they struggle with social media because that is the only medium right now for them to showcase their work. But I've seen you that you have been using social media very productively. So what message you would like to give to these ladies? I'm talking about the mompreneurs and the womanpreneurs. That how would you handle the social media productively? Because that is the only medium right now for them to showcase how you handle your social media and how you would suggest other ladies to.
Okay, thanks for this question. Definitely, because I have once been into that struggle of how do I do it on, how do I put my face on social media. And to start with, my LinkedIn profile is completely different from my Insta profile, and my Facebook page is very different from Insta page. I'm not at all a Twitter person, because tweeting unless or until I'm in an event and I'm doing a live tweet, I'm not somebody who goes to Twitter and then post. I'm more of an Insta or a FB or a blog kind of person. Talking about the social media, what do you call, dilemmas within or something, especially for the mompreneurs. Okay, let's be very clear about one thing. We decide what we want to showcase. Social media. We decide what we want to showcase to social media. you don't have to go and do a post. Always remember, it's about you doing it, not posting it. So the process of doing it is extremely important, and posting is just a follow-up. It's just this next step. Because today I need to do something on Insta, I need to do this, and otherwise I might lose my followers. Don't force yourself to do it. So thought process wise, you need to be very clear on doing more than posting. And I see that there is a hurry-burry mindset where it's more about posting, less about doing. So that I would like to request all of you to come out of that little zone, and then go ahead and keep. If you are painting, if you're into painting, if you're into crafts, enjoy the work and let it reach the stage where you want to post about it. You don't have to push it, because it's like you need to wait for 10 months for the baby to come out. You don't want to take it for a social media post. Please don't do that.
I've seen people getting so serious about that they get pressurized in the morning how many likes they have got, because I've seen people going through this what it's like a called trauma, right? To what happened. I worked so hard, because these things cannot justify your work, and they feel so disheartened that I got only 2 likes for that. So I've seen people, ladies going through this thing. So have you also gone through these?
Oh yes, I was about to tell you, don't say ladies who have. You can also include me 12 years back, because when I started blogging, and when you start something, you're all nervous. You want to know from somebody that you do good, and you either have friends who will always say good job for whatever you do, or you always have this poking so-called people who are there to criticize just because they want to criticize. But when you hear somebody like you said that when you heard Tigers and Butterfly and you contacted, the way we bonded, all this is so organic, and these kind of things make a lot of confidence, and it makes your work felt more important by everyone. But I never started a Tigers and Butterfly because somebody should come and approach me and I should do this. These are some brownies that you get after the work. Let these brownies not be determination factor. And when I wrote my first blog, or for the first 5-6 blogs, I'll go and see which place I got the like from, which time people liked it. I did all this analysis, and suddenly I also saw that when I posted it over a Friday, Saturday, Sunday morning, the number of likes were immediate and very high. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, especially Wednesday, people are so busy with their work, and they are between work and life that they don't have time. So it was not there, and I was breaking my head. I posted something on a Saturday so that I'm going to be showered with 100 likes in next half an hour, I thought. But I didn't. I got only 2 likes, and I thought, what is wrong with my post? It reduces your self-confidence.
Exactly.
When I become a better blogger, when I stopped bothering about the likes and comments. So when I stopped thinking I am doing it for likes, I'm doing it for comments, I was able to be more myself. I was able to actually focus on the work than the results. And it's always that we get results when we focus on the work. And it is okay. Sometimes people are busy, and there are so many things happening on social media. People will come and find you. People will come and reach your work. You keep doing your work, and don't let these things suppress your beautiful mind. And every mompreneur out there, and thanks to you and the team of Indian Creative Mothers, Maher, you guys are doing a great job bringing such people out, giving them the platform. And it's important that we are very organic in what we are doing.
Namrata, and as we are talking about these things, I have seen even for an author also, publishing a book is a challenge, because you write a book, then you have to. Well, I haven't written a book, but I have a couple of friends who are an author. They told me that it's a struggle. So, what was your struggle when you published all these books?
Okay, in the first book, I thought I finished writing the script, and I did a couple of reviews. Done, written. The next step is publishing. So 95% of the work is done. It's just 5 minutes, publish, print it, and come over. But then I realized that writing the script is 30% of the work. Well, it's just 30%. So when you finish your script and you clean it, you review it, and then you say that 100% I'm ready with the script, you only completed 30%.
Oh my God.
The first time I thought, okay, this weekend I'm just reaching a publisher. Next weekend I can do my launch party. And it took me 5 months to do my launch party. Because you need to find a publisher and you need to discuss about each and every part. There are contracts. You need to decide what kind of book, which are the channels where your books has to go. The whole process technically, and also there's a production team. You have set of designers, editors, your cover page, your preface, your photograph, the way your product has to become. Everything is very, very interesting, and we need to have when you are deciding to be an author, first, #patience. So we need to be patient enough for the book to be written, and then realize that it is only 30%. So if your script is ready, don't think that you're ready for a book. Wait and enjoy the process. I think I learned quite a lot when I spent that time for 70%, and that's the secret behind the publishing, and why people feel that publishing a book is very big struggle, because it's 30-70 concept.
And hats off to you that you have completed almost 3 and you are about to release another one. Really, really good. So, talking about this work-life balance and everything, after doing so many things, where you associate yourself more, that you are more of a writer or blogger, dancer, influencer, means what you feel the most at this stage? Well, you have been through all these stages, but right now, where you feel the most, that where you get the most of it, that yes, I am this.
See, I want to say dancing, but I want to say dancing, but I'm actually a writer. I think when I'm very disturbed, when I want to do something, I want to write on it. The minute I sit and complete it, that feeling what I get, like I said, it's about that feeling. It's not about the number of likes or that blog or that article getting super famous. It's not about that. The minute when I finish the article and I feel that I'm going to click on publish, God, that's beautiful. That's me.
Okay, but I've seen that one thing I missed, that you are into painting also, glass painting, I guess. Some painting you also do. What you do?
Oh, yeah. So basically, I think I want to try a lot of things. Creative, the word creative in your company definitely suits, because something I'm so attracted to the word creative. You tell me that there's a new concept coming up. I'm this little child. That's why I said when you asked me to try, I said I'm a little girl. I'm this curious person where I want to try it out, and then happen or not happen is the next one. So painting, again, I have not gone to a proper class. I didn't learn and all that. Second, books cover page is doodled by me.
Oh, good. Yes, I've seen that. Yeah, vector kind of things. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, you have done. Okay, great.
Yes. And I think I enjoy the painting process with my children also. And there's this finger painting. I don't know if it actually exists or I'm just building it on my own. But
without brush pen, try this out, and you can take a paint and put it on your fingers. Take a big canvas board and try to do a nice painting. All your anger will be channelized into a beautiful art, and that's the secret art. And I think I'm not intending to be an influencer or to showcase my work in terms of painting and art, but I just want to connect
with it and keep discovering more of my sides with it.
Okay, great. And I've seen that you write beautiful quotes, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you have so many quotes, like you make that chart with that quotes, and I have been following many of them. So there was a very nice quote which I really liked, that keep the child in you alive and be always active.
Okay.
Would you like to tell something? I really like that. We have many more to tell, but right now, what is clicking right now? Would you like to tell?
On a lighter note, with 2 pregnancies, I always pray keep the child within alive and active. But then later I realized even after popping them out, It's about the inner child which is within us. Yeah. To ask a question. Okay. When was the last time we all did something crazy? Back. When did you want a popsicle and you wanted to grab and have it? Or you want to try something messy and you do it? We end up being the other side where we say, don't mess this up, don't eat popsicles. So this side has given us a lot of seriousness. But then there is a little child within. And this child doesn't bother about likes, comments. This child doesn't bother about the child likes to just, enjoy the moment. And enjoying the moment is extremely important, because if we are alive for 80, 90, 100 years, how many of life have we lived in the moment? Makes a lot of it. And that is why I always say, keep the child with it. If you like something, and in the name of growing up, we are trying to undo everything that the child within liked. Yeah, because now I'm a manager. If I'm going to smile extra, I think my manager hat will be spoiled. So I like smiling within, but I'm a manager, so let me behave. It happens. And you just want to have a messy Sunday sometimes, and you're like, okay, now if I'm having a messy Sunday, what will my children do? What will my parents think, or anybody? What will people comment that how she's keeping her house? So let me do this. But one day or sometimes it's okay to be the inner child.
Exactly. It's very beautiful, very beautiful. And please keep writing these quotes. It motivates us.
Definitely. Thank you.
So what one message you would like to give all the mothers out there to follow their passion, and they have a lot of desire to do, but they are not able to. So what message would you like to give them or motivate them in your own term? What would you like to tell them?
So there's a message and all is like something where I am a different person giving it to them, but we're all together. We're all this group of mothers club who are trying to do something and all. So let's do this. When we're all 80 years old, 80, 85 years, please host Indian Creative Mother Insta Live, Mahir. I will be like this, and I will be still coming to your Insta Live when I'm 85. But then, let's talk about, so what do we want to do? Do we want to talk about things that we missed? Do we want to be talking about things that we wish we did in our 30s, 40s, 50s? Or we should be talking about things we wanted, we tried, we failed, we passed, something became a super hit and all that. That's extremely important. When you're old, what you regret is not trying. You will not regret about failure. You will regret about not trying. So my one message is just try. If you want to do something, do it.
Beautiful, beautiful. So Narmada, thank you for joining and giving such beautiful message, and keeping us so active throughout that, and keeping a child alive. So I'm wishing you all the best for your upcoming book, and wishing you that you may complete another 100 looks in saris on your Saregama, and many more interesting stand-up comedian shows on your way. So thank you so much, Narmada.
It is lovely to be part of your forum, Mahir, and the passion with which some of them want to climb up, and some of them want to be the ladder on which others climb up. On the ladder,
Thank you so much.
everyone to climb up. So hats off to that dedication, and I'm a big fan.
Oh, thank you. It is because of you I am sitting here. If you're not there, Indian Creative Mother, it's of no use, right? Because of you all, I get these motivation.
Certainly. I think I did promise something when we started the discussion or the interview. I said I'm going to tell the name of my third book.
Yes. That was, thanks for reminder.
So I was in Goa, and I was sometimes these crazy things come to your mind in a very different scenario, and I was actually walking in the beach and I was looking at the beauty. What do I write next? I had a lot of 1, 2, 3, 4 and all. Then, in spite of all the problems that we have, every day doesn't come and say that this day is going to be beautiful. It's an adamant attitude of happiness that will make us go. So the title of my third book is An Adamant Attitude of Happiness.
Oh, awesome.
Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I'm waiting for that book to get online.
Yeah.
So
So
how
it's not going to be a preachy book. It's not going to give some tips and all. It's just going to make yourself look at your magical mirror and then slap yourself saying that, hey, why are you sad about things? These things change. You better get back to being happy and let's hug happiness close that, it doesn't go from us.
So nice, so beautiful. So hats off to you, Namrata. Nice talking to you and wishing you all the best for your new book also.
Thank you so much, Maya. Thank you so